Do you want to start learning web development but you don't know where to begin? Many aspiring developers face this challenge, but today I'll help you find the perfect starting point. Hi everyone and welcome to Tech Nuggets. My name is Prosper and I'm a full stack developer. And in today's video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know to kick off your web development journey. From the essential tools you need to the coding languages that will set you up for success, whether you are dreaming of building beautiful websites or powerful web apps, I've got you covered. So let's get into it. So before we even go further, right, let's start by defining what we mean when we say web development. So this refers to the creating or building and maintaining of websites. It includes aspects such as web designing, web publishing, also web programming and database management. So in a nutshell, we're saying it is a creation of applications that work over the internet. So let's say, for example, currently you're watching this video on YouTube, right? So YouTube itself, it's a web application, right, that was developed by many developers and stuff. And also, even if you go on Google, let's say you want to do some shopping, you go to Takealot or Amazon, that's a web application, right? So a web application, it comprises of the front end and also the back end. So now we need to define or to know what exactly makes up a web application, right? So that's web development. So to start with, we're going to start with what we call front end development, right? So this is what all users see or what they interact with. So from the nice UIs that you see, the beautiful images set on any website that you go onto, that's the front end, that's the UI, the nice look and feel that you see. So if you are, say, you're a beginner or you want to start to learning or to start building websites, you probably need the following languages or the following tools. You need to master those such that you'll be able to come up with nice web applications, right? So to start with, you probably need to start mastering HTML. So HTML, this is a hypertext markup language. It's a standard language that is used to create the structure of your website using tags, right? So it makes use of tags. Then to beautify that structure that you have made, you now need to apply what is CSS, right? So these are cascading style sheets. So let's say maybe you want to add colors, you want to add pictures, icons and stuff, and also making sure that your website is responsive, you need to master CSS, right? Then there's Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is actually what can I call it? It's a library that is used for CSS, right? So it comes with custom-made elements that you can, let's say, you apply or you reference to, right? Then it beautifies your website, right? Then now, for your website, so when you're coming up with the web, there are two types of website. There's an interactive one, which is a bit dynamic. Then there's just a static website. So a static website is like, it's more like you're just reading through. There's text set, there's pictures set. There isn't much of an interaction that happens on it. But the moment we start making use of JavaScript, this is where, like, if I want to make an action, let's say I click a button and I want it to do something, now we start to make use of JavaScript. So you need to learn JavaScript. So here, it is actually used to make our content dynamic and more interactive, right? It allows developers to handle dynamic events, manipulate data, and interact with the server. So this is when I'll speak more of the server side when we start looking at the backend, because this is behind the scenes, right? So if you just want to know web designing, right? If you master these 4 languages or 4 tools, then you'll be good to go. But if you want to now to put the icing on the cake, you need to look for frameworks, right? So these frameworks, they were developed or they were produced to enhance the quality of the work that we produce as web developers or as web designers and stuff. So you can master Angular or React or even Vue, right? So depending on the country or where you are in the world, it depends also. Before you actually learn these, you need to study the market. You need to Google which frameworks are more used in the location that you are in. So for example, here in South Africa, we most people, they make use of Angular and also React, right? Vue, it's starting to to be adopted, but majority of the people, they make use of those two. So it just depends when you're picking, right? So now that if you have mastered these, right, then I'm sure you'll be good to go on the front end side. So your title, obviously, you'll be a front end developer. Now let's move on to backend development. So for me, I prefer to call it the engine of whatever system that I'm making, even if it be it a mobile app and stuff. This is the engine. So this is everything behind the scenes that all these users, they don't see, right? All the logic, the business logic and stuff, right? So it belongs to the backend. And your title, if you are to take this route, you'll be a backend developer, right? Now again, there is an issue to do with a language, programming language, that you need to master. So you don't need to learn all of them. You just need to look for one, you master it, then you perfect it, then you move. So there are different languages out there, so you can make use of Python, C#, Java, PHP, and their related frameworks as well. So again, it depends with where you are, the location that you are in. Then after mastering this or after studying this, then when I start applying for jobs, I'll get jobs, right? Then from there, there's what we call client-server architecture. So now you need, as a backend developer, you need to master this. There's so many topics under client-server architecture. So in a nutshell, this is how your front end interact with the backend, or how the backend actually interacts within itself. Like you send requests, you need responses. How are those requests sent? We make use of the HTTP, HTTPS, all that jargon. You need to know what it is, right? And also how the data which is being brought back to the front end, how can you handle it? What type of data is it? Is it JSON? Is it XML? All those things. You need to master that. Then also you need to master what we call API development, right? So let's say you're designing an e-commerce website or an e-commerce web application. You need to be sending requests to say, return all these products that I've searched. Now, when you search on your front end, right, that information goes and hits an API or an endpoint. So that's where now the API development comes in. There are certain rules, certain principles and standards that are associated with API development, which I believe from after this video, I'll be covering most of those things, right? So you better stay tuned, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss any content that I'll be sharing upon this topic, right? Then there's also, these are now tools, Postman and Swagger. So these are just used to, when you're testing your backend. Let's say before you even start developing your front end, you need to test your endpoints, you need to test your API. So you can make use of Postman. Then for documentation, also you can make use of Swagger, right? So these are just tools to enable you to manipulate or start playing around with your APIs without building any front end. So like for me, myself, I prefer starting with building the backend first. So hence I find these tools useful and very good to play with, right? Then from there, whatever they should do on a certain system, there is somewhere where that data is coming from or where that data is being stored. So you need to master databases, right? So again, you don't need to master everything, you just need to pick one and you master it, right? Because you're starting. As time goes on, then you start changing, So for databases, there are relational and non-relational databases, right? So for relational, we're talking about the SQL, the MySQL, the Postgres. Then for non-relational, which are more like document databases, we're talking about the MongoDBs, Cassandra, and also CouchDB, right? So all these, they are pros and cons, right? So for instance, if I'm developing a system that needs an offline functionality, I can opt to go with CouchDB because I know I have a chance of utilizing that technology, which is for replications, where I can work offline, then the moment I get online, then my data starts to flow. And this also is something that SQL can handle as well. So it just depends. So the choice will be depending on the spec of the system that you're trying to build and stuff, right? So now that you have now a clear picture of what web development, the two types which are there, now it's time to move on to the full stack development, right? So now when it comes to full stack development, we are saying you have mastered front end, you have mastered back end, now you are a full stack developer, right? And on this, it's not only that you need to master these two first for you to become a full stack. So a full stack is more like an all-rounder. You can do everything. You can work on the front end, you can work on the back end, right? Now, another thing, you need to master system design, right? You need to know the ins and outs of system design. You also need to master software architecture, right? There's something or extra stuff that I've managed to master, and it's actually being helpful now that I'm using them and in my journey as well. So master system design and software architecture. So now once you have mastered these, so remember again, a system, when you get functionalities for a system, they have to be functional specs and non-functional specs. So you find that whenever you are doing, at the moment you'll be mastering systems design, and you'll be covering the non-functional specs, right? Remember, the non-functional is how responsive is your website or your web application, the response time is there, redundancy, all those things, right? They belong to the non-functional specs. I hope this video have managed to help you understand what web development is, and also the different types that are involved. It was just a quick one that I just thought of sharing with you guys. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might be interested in software development and also web development, right? Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our upcoming content. And also, if you have any questions or you have any suggestions, or you feel like I have left out something, please feel free to leave those comments in the comments down below. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for supporting my channel. See you in the next one.